Namaskar to everyone at Sarada Ramakrishna Pathachakra of Dubai. We are meeting in connection with the Gospel or Kathamrita of Sri Ramakrishna, and it's a happy meeting in any case during these lockdown days. And we will recall that in the last program we were at Dakshineshwar. We were in the holy company of Sri Ramakrishna and M, the recorder of Gospel, where we found that M had asked one question, a very important question, the answer to which, as we were listening, we were recalling that this answer pervades the whole of Kathamrita. In the whole of Gospel, this idea is elucidated in various ways. That way, this second visit, the question of M and the reply of Sri Ramakrishna, these are very, very important and interesting also to learn and to note that how the Master is putting in brief not only what he has to say or what will be found in the Kathamrita in detail, but also the very essential details of our Shastra or the scripture as suited to the modern times. So, wherever we had ended from there, we will continue today's journey through the Kathamrita, the Gospel, at the beginning of which M quotes from Gopi Gita, Tava Kathamritang Tapta Jivanang Kabibhirirritang Kalmashapahang Sravana Mangalang Sri Madatatang Bhubi Grunanti Ye Bhurida Janaha. M had humbly asked, so this is by way of a happy recap. M had humbly asked, Ishware ki kore mon hoy? Sir, how can one develop a passion for God? Sri Ramakrishna said, we mentioned in the last program that when Thakur Sri Ramakrishna is giving these instructions, it looks like a medical prescription, a prescription for our inner soul. Things are so very accurate, so very pinpointed, so very precise, one after another, with small explanations. These come as really items within a prescription. Only thing that nothing to be scared about this prescription. This is a spiritual line of advice, but yes, has the exactitude of a prescription, and also the the blessings of that doctor. As Sri Ramakrishna has given one word, Bhavaroga Vaidya and Uttam Vaidya, the best doctor for these worldly malaise. So that doctor is giving this prescription, and one has all the reasons to be happy about it, to celebrate it, and to appreciate and welcome it as a divine blessing. That is what we get when we go through these utterances one after another. Sri Ramakrishna is saying to that question that how can, sir, one develop a passion for God? He says, Ishwarer Nam Gunogan Sarboda Korte Hoy. One must always chant the name of God. Ar Sotsango, Ishwarer Bhakto ba Sadhu, eder kache মাঝে মাঝে যেতে হয়. Satsang, one should occasionally visit a devotee of the God or a sadhu. সংসারের ভিতর ও বিষয় কাজের ভিতর রাত দিন থাকলে ঈশ্বরে মন হয় না. মাঝে মাঝে নির্জনে গিয়ে তাঁর চিন্তা করা বড় দরকার. প্রথম অবস্থায় মাঝে মাঝে নির্জন না হলে ঈশ্বরে মন রাখা বড়ই কঠিন. সো সংসারের ভিতর ও বিষয় কাজের ভিতর রাত দিন থাকলে ঈশ্বরে মন হয় না. One doesn't grow a liking for God if one remains all the time confined within samsar and worldly things day and night. So what has to be done? মাঝে মাঝে নির্জনে গিয়ে তাঁর চিন্তা করা বড় দরকার. It's absolutely necessary to go to solitude at times. প্রথম অবস্থায় মাঝে নির্জন না হলে ঈশ্বরে মন রাখা বড়ই কঠিন. Initially, if you don't go to solitude occasionally, then you will find it very difficult to keep your mind fixed on God. And finally, in the last program what we heard was this: যখন চারা গাছ থাকে তখন তার চারিদিকে বেড়া দিতে হয়, বেড়া না দিলে ছাগল গরুতে খেয়ে ফেলে। Initially, when one's mind, the devotion in one's mind is like a sapling, then one has to put up a fence around it, and if you don't give a fence, then it will be eaten up by goats and cows. বেড়া না দিলে ছাগল গরুতে খেয়ে ফেলে. So that we recalled that was immediately connected to the idea of solitude, that initially one has to go to or retire to solitude temporarily, so that the nice sapling of devotion within can grow on its own and it's not eaten up by goats and cows. So this much we had listened to. After that, we find that the master is going on. So the prescription continues. We had taken a break, and maybe within this time we had meditated upon it. Every point in that prescription, every single advice is absolutely important to our life all through. So after these things what we have heard, he says, ধ্যান করবে মনে কোণে ও বনে. In Bengali, the original Bengali is rhythmic, and be it in Bengali, be it in English or in any other language, this is spiritually rhythmic. There is no doubt about it. ধ্যান করবে মনে কোণে ও বনে. Meditate in your mind, in a corner and in the forest. Mone, kone, o bone. So mone is in the mind, kone is in a corner, in a secluded corner, bone. Bon we know, but bone is in the forest. So these are the three places where you have to meditate. Interestingly, Sri Ramakrishna first of all says mone, in the mind, then in the corner, in some corner, and then in the forest. If we go about it in the other way around, from the end to the beginning, bone. In earlier days, that was the concept, that the whole life of a householder or whole life of any person was divided into 4 ashramas, that he or she has to go through these 4 ashramas. And what are they? Brahmacharya, then garhasthya, then vanaprasthya, and finally sannyasa. The whole life is tuned to the achievement, to the realization of that supreme Godhead, that supreme cause of this universe. The whole life should be dedicated to that. The whole life struggle, the living of a person should converge to that one and single aim, and that is attaining God in whatever way you like to describe it. And there, the first part is brahmacharya. You lead a celibate life, then garhasthya, as we understand the householder's life, and then vanaprastha. Vanaprastha, it has come from vana, means forest. One who has retired to the forest. The idea is that after the householder's life is lived properly, then you should prepare. You means maybe the man, maybe the couple. So the person or the persons in the family who have led a meaningful and righteous householder's life will slowly, gradually retire to the forest, give up worldly, these longings, and then the duties also have been discharged. So after these bonds are cut, these householder-like attractions are cut, those bondages are cut. So they have to be cut gradually, and then these people will retire, these people will happily move on to the 3rd ashrama, that is vanaprastha. So the affinities of the householder's life are not naturally gone. There is no compulsion. nobody has forced, but naturally they are gone, and now these people are retiring into the forest, Banaprastha, they are living in the forest, far away from the sangsar or the householder's life, or the society for that matter. And then after Banaprastha, one should be physically, mentally all set to take up the sannyasa ashrama. That was the idea, the ashrama of a monastic, 100% monastic. Now this Banaprastha is interesting, that you go and stay in a forest. So in earlier days things were like that. But nowadays, where do we get a forest? People talk about deforestation in any case. And even if there is a forest, is it possible to go and to retire into a forest? So that's not possible. But in the present age, when Sri Ramakrishna says Mone, Kone, Bone, then in the reverse order, when we look at it, we discern, we locate a nice order, that from that old system of living in a forest, he is bringing the whole issue internally. He is in a way interiorizing the whole concept, that let it happen in your mind, because my friend, my son or my daughter, nowadays it's not possible for you people to retire to the forest. In Kolkata, people say that forests are not there simply because the reason that apartment buildings have come up over there. So whatever be the case, forests are not easy to go and to stay over there. So Sri Ramakrishna keeps that in the third position. But that spirit of Vanaprastha, that continues. And that is very much embedded in the whole concept as given in the Kathamrita or the Gospel. That after leading a householder's life, please know for certain that a time comes when you have to do away with these mortal attractions. Swamiji used to say attractions of lust and gold, picking up cues from Sri Ramakrishna. So that time comes when you should not drag yourself to these worldly enjoyments anymore. There is a point of saturation. So from there you should smoothly move into the other life. Now that other life Sri Ramakrishna brings home in a way. When he says Mone Kone, Kone means bringing home that other life. And this Kone, you will possibly agree and appreciate that nowadays when spaces are not easy to get, livable spaces are becoming costly all over the world, then in many cases it's found that a householder, a pious householder, what he or she is doing is that in one corner of the house or apartment or flat or whatever, one corner is set aside, kept aside, that yes, this is the shrine. Sometimes we say Thakur God, shrine. Even if that is not possible, that one's full room, whatever be the small square feet measurement, even if it's not possible to keep one room secluded, but yes, one corner of your occupation, your apartment or flat or whatever, one corner is dedicated for what? Dedicated that here we will only do some japa, meditation or prayer or whatever. There is a photo or there is a small image, so that looks like a prayer place. We are not talking of a temple or a prayer room, but yes, a place for prayer. In many houses it happens that a small accommodation, and in one corner the husband, the wife or the children, they sit sometimes and they meditate, but they make it a point that whenever they are doing these religious or spiritual things, that happens in that corner. Sri Ramakrishna, surprisingly, when he says Mone Kone Bone, then it's surprising and it's a happy thing also that it seems that he is addressing very much the modern times and the modern compulsions and the modern limitations. That if it's not possible for you to go to the forest, then think of one small corner in your own house and meditate over there. He says, Dhyan korbe mone kone bone. And the spiritual science, the factual spiritual science of the whole thing points to another thing also, another aspect. What is that? That is, if some people meditate at one particular place, then people have reported, and you and I, we know that if some people meditate at one place, some people means maybe one gentleman or a lady, or a husband and wife, or some more, when they are meditating at one particular place for a long time, then that place becomes spiritually vibrant and alive. This is brought about by one single word in our tradition, and that is Sthan Mahatmya. Sthan Mahatmya means what? The gravity, the sanctity, the purity of a place. Sthan Mahatmya. In Bengali, Sthaner Mahatto. So that means that the spirituality or the sanctity of a place grows as people meditate at that place, maybe at a fixed time, maybe at different times, but that place is not used for any other quote-unquote worldly purpose, but only for meditation and prayer and so on. Then one vibration. So now these words are semi-scientific but 100% true. Maybe we have not been able to develop that jargon, develop that terminology, how to describe it. But the fact remains, and it remains happily, that place where people meditate, that place becomes lively with spirituality. Meaning what? Meaning is that if a person somewhat unknowingly sets foot in that place, then that person gets changed mentally. So many times it happens that one person, maybe he or she is an office goer, and he or she meditates in one particular place in the house, and then one day comes back with many worries. Maybe he or she is sad for some reason, stressed as we say nowadays, and then unknowingly he or she goes into that place, sets foot into that place, and immediately there is a change in the mindset, as if a mass of cloud has suddenly disappeared and the mind feels fresh and energized. Now that is one proof, not a scientific proof with formulae and all that, like in mathematics, but people know in their core of heart that they didn't have any intention also, that I will go to that place and see what happens. But in his or her own household, unknowingly setting foot inside that place changes the whole mindset. Which brings us to the age-old concept of Sthan Mahatmya. You enter that place and the divinity within you starts speaking to you. Maybe it was nascent, now it becomes vibrant, it becomes expressive. That happens. And Indian tradition always says that this divinity was not roaming around outside, it was within you, and due to some positive impetus, it has once again started manifesting itself. So that positive impetus, in so many cases, it comes from that place, and that justifies, that makes us understand the import of the word Sthan Mahatmya. In 2020, we feel that it is not only highly pertinent, but highly important also, very important, that to speak in this way, that what could be a nice place of meditation. If I say that you please go to the forest, if I say that you go to a temple or a monastery, that's not easy. Forests, temples, monasteries are not easy to find when in 2020, when during periods of lockdown, where in places where really temples and monasteries are very small in number. So that won't work really. So here it makes very positive sense, and it gives very positive direction to one's spiritual life, that think of Kone, one secluded corner, one corner left for this particular purpose where you can meditate, and that corner might work wonders in your life. Coming to the first word, mone. And this is absolute interiorization of the spiritual pursuit of a man or woman when Sri Ramakrishna says that mone. So, if you don't have one secluded corner, then what to do? Then you have to think, you have to inculcate this faculty of meditating in your mind. People might think at this point that, well, meditation is always in the mind, but still we were used to say that go to the forest and meditate, go to the temple and meditate, and so on. That means take some input from there. So that geographical location used to remain important, but here Sri Ramakrishna once again is internalizing or interiorizing the whole concept that, well, it's mone that is very, very important for the modern man or woman. This becomes important for another reason also, that when you are on the go, you are moving, you are going somewhere, you are in a flight, then what happens? Where is your bone and where is your cone? Where is the forest and where is that dear secluded corner in your house? So now you are left to yourself, and yes, in your mind you find that corner, in your mind you find that forest, that pious, that pure forest where you can meditate. So make your mind like that. When Sri Ramakrishna is keeping mone at number 1 and bone at number 3, we feel that he is bringing that tradition of householders' meditative life, householders' contemplative life, householders' life of renunciation. He is bringing that life into the present times, and he is bringing the whole concept into the mind. And that which he says somewhere in one line, Sotto Juger Punno Sriti Anile Kolite Tumi Taposh. Sri Ramakrishna, he is hailing Sri Ramakrishna with these words, that the hallowed memory of Satya Yoga you have brought to this Kali Yoga. Sotto Juger Punno Sriti Anile Kolite Tumi Taposh. You, the great ascetic Sri Ramakrishna, you have brought back the hallowed memory of Satya Yoga in this Kali Yoga. So when Sri Ramakrishna says mone kone bone, and we read it in the reverse order, bone kone mone, then really, veritably, the hallowed memory of Satya Yoga is coming down to our present times, the Kali Yoga. Sri Ramakrishna knew all these concepts, that when he says mone kone bone, then after all, he is not devaluing the concept of bone. When he led the life of an ascetic at Dakshineshwar, much before his devotees went to him, including the recorder of M. So when he was a man struggling with his sadhana, with his meditation, during those intense years of meditation, one place comes very often in the discussion, in the news, in the history of that period. And what is that place? That is the great Panchavati of Dakshineshwar. That great Panchavati of Dakshineshwar, where Sri Ramakrishna used to lead a very strong, powerful, unthinkable life of asceticism, of meditation. When he used to meditate in Panchavati. So what was Panchavati? One place in the Dakshineshwar temple garden where Sri Ramakrishna used to meditate. Now that was a secluded place, and there was dense jungle all around. And in Sri Ramakrishna Lila Prasanga, Sri Ramakrishna, the great master, it has been translated in that way by Swami Saradanandaji, it has been mentioned that people used to get afraid to enter into the place even in broad daylight. There was such dense jungle over there and there Sri Ramakrishna planted 5 small saplings over there, and that way it came to be known as Panchavati, and in that place he meditated. So that was an extreme meditation, very much within a forest-like environment where people are scared to enter in the daytime also. There Sri Ramakrishna used to meditate, so he knew the charm and beauty and efficacy of vana or the jungle or the forest. But that Sri Ramakrishna, when he is talking to the householders, when he is giving his sermon for the modern times, that compassionate Sri Ramakrishna, that Sri Ramakrishna alive to the challenges and needs of the modern age, he has talked about Monet at the outset. So this is the old tradition coming down to our own homes in a sweet way. And we will end today's program with Kone. Once again, we are revisiting, right? So Kone in one corner, and we were saying that that corner is sanctified by what? Sanctified by a person's persistent, continuous practice of meditation. There was one pious lady called Yoginma. In Bengali, Joginma, or sometimes Jogenma, as referred to by the Holy Mother. Now, Joginma, Sri Ramakrishna once visited her house. She went to Golap Ma's house. So these are very remarkable pieces of news in any case, hallmarks in the history of Ramakrishna movement that way. Sri Ramakrishna went to Golap Ma's house, who was bereaved, Shokatura Brahmani, and from her house he moved along with other devotees to the house of this lady called Joginma. Now, when he was sitting with others happily in the drawing room of Joginma's house, then Joginma, through Golapma, submitted the prayer that let Sri Ramakrishna also come inside. Inside means her own room. When Sri Ramakrishna said that, no, it's what's the purpose? Then, no, sir, something will be served to you. He said that it's nice over here. And then Joginma said that if Thakur Sri Ramakrishna sets in his foot in her room, then that room will become Kashi or Benares, and if she dies over there, then there will be no issue. ওখানে মরলে আর কোনো গোল থাকবে না. There will be no problem if she dies in that room. Once Sri Ramakrishna sets his foot in that room, the reason is that Sri Ramakrishna setting his foot in that room makes or turns that room into Kashi, or that venerated place known also as Benares. So Sri Ramakrishna happily agreed to that, consented, and then with some of the devotees accompanying him, he went into Joginma's room. So these are very sweet anecdotes. Sri Ramakrishna setting his foot somewhere, and the devotees believing that that place will turn into Kashi. So when Sri Ramakrishna says Kone, we are once again drawn to this fact that this Kone or this corner can really get transfigured, this can get transformed into something else if that touch of meditation, if that touch of holy thought, if the touch of a holy person is there. If it is touched by a holy person or a thought, then that place is transformed. With that, we will end today's program by thinking that when you people, the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, you are sitting at Dubai, maybe at other places in UAE, maybe at Kolkata like I. So whenever we are sitting at our own places, then these are also really corners during this lockdown period or during unlock period. Prior to lockdown, you used to sit somewhere. Sarada Ramakrishna Pathachakra sits somewhere. So that is one corner. And we love to believe that the corner gets changed. when we are doing this program, we are occupying some corner in the cyberspace. So these corners, nice to think of, that these corners are getting sanctified by the presence of Sri Ramakrishna presently through the Kathamrita or the Gospel. So we pray to Sri Ramakrishna like Joginma, that whoever is speaking, whoever is listening, whoever is singing or doing something else, we pray together like Joginma that let the Master Sri Ramakrishna set his foot inside this small, humble endeavor of ours, so that while sitting at our own places, while occupying this corner of cyberspace, we can rest assured, we can feel blessed that Sri Ramakrishna has set his foot within our endeavor, and this whole endeavor is getting changed, and this whole ambience is getting changed, and it is becoming a Kashi or a Benaras gradually but definitely. Thank you and Namaskar.